Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be diving into a company that, well, let's be honest, they're everywhere you look these days, and that's Tesla.
Yeah, they're impossible to ignore.
Right. And judging by the stack of articles and notes you sent over, you're not just interested in their electric cars, you want the bigger picture. What makes Tesla, well, Tesla?
It's true. You can't just look at their vehicles in isolation. It'd be like trying to understand the Amazon rainforest by, I don't know, studying a single tree.
Okay, love that analogy.
Yeah.
So let's zoom out and look at this rainforest. Everyone knows Tesla for the EVs, right? They've shattered sales records with the Model 3 and Y.
Yeah.
But you dug deeper. Their solar energy work, the battery storage Powerwall, Megapack, even robots. It's almost like they're trying to be in every industry at once.
And that's what's so fascinating, the strategy. It's not about selling cars, it's about this whole ecosystem, right? Sustainable energy and transportation. They want to control how we power our homes, how we get to work, maybe even how we order a pizza.
Okay, that's amazing and also a little Big Brother-ish.
Exactly. And it raises all these questions about their long-term goals. But we got to break down each piece, right? So let's start with their solar energy play. You highlighted their acquisition of Solar City a while back.
Right, and wasn't that a bit controversial at the time?
Definitely. Some people saw it as a bailout of a struggling company. But it wasn't just about the solar panels, right? It was about vertical integration. Tesla wants to control that entire energy chain. I mean, from the generation to storage to consumption. They're not selling solar panels. They're selling you this whole energy ecosystem, right? With their Powerwall for homes and the Megapack for utilities.
So it's that own the entire rainforest idea, but this time with energy instead of transportation.
Precisely. They want to be like the Apple of clean energy, you know? One-stop shop. But just like Apple, they're not afraid to push the boundaries, especially when it comes to automation. And that leads us to your next stack of notes here, autopilot and their full self-driving claims.
Yeah, this is where things get, well, a little controversial, right? On one hand, it's the future, cars driving themselves. But on the other, it's like every day there are headlines about accidents, regulations.
And that's the heart of it, right? While Tesla's out here calling it full self-driving, it's actually, in reality, classified as Level 2 automation by the SAE.
Okay, so what does that actually mean for people driving these cars?
So that means it can help you with things like lane keeping, adaptive cruise control, basic stuff. But the driver still needs to be fully engaged, you know, hands on the wheel, ready to take over at any moment.
So there's this gap between what they're promising and what the technology can actually do, like today. And hasn't that led to, like, lawsuits and stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, some argue that, names like autopilot, full self-driving, it's misleading. It could cause drivers to overestimate what the system can do.
Yeah.
And then this raises, ethical questions. Are we okay with public roads being used as a testing ground for what's essentially beta software?
And we can't forget about Elon Musk here, right? I mean, he's made some pretty, shall we say, optimistic timelines for when he expects this tech to be, fully realized.
Right. Let's just say he's known for ambitious pronouncements. But even if we take those with a grain of salt, it makes you wonder, is Tesla biting off more than it can chew with these self-driving ambitions? Are they pushing too far, too fast?
Those are some big questions, and ones we're going to keep exploring for sure as we go deeper into the world of Tesla. So we've talked about Tesla's ambition to, dominate sustainable energy, autonomous driving, all that. But how do they actually build this stuff? You sent over some stuff about their manufacturing process, especially when it comes to robots.
Yeah, their approach to manufacturing is almost as unconventional as, well, everything they do. They've gone all in on automation, but it's been a journey, to say the least.
Right, like that whole thing where they went on a robot buying spree for the Model 3 production line, and then later Elon Musk is like, yeah, maybe all those robots weren't the best idea.
It's true. There were some growing pains, definitely. But then instead of giving up on automation, they doubled down. But in a completely different direction, they pivoted to these massive gigapresses.
Okay, yeah. Those things are huge. You send a picture, it's basically the size of a small house.
They're massive and powerful. We're talking giant casting machines, the kind that can create entire sections of a car's underbody in one piece.
So instead of having all these robots welding together tons of smaller parts, it's like, bam,
Yeah.
huge chunk of the car all at once. That's going to save so much time and money.
Exactly. It streamlines everything. They rely less on complex welding. They can use lighter materials. Efficiency goes up. Of course, it's not a perfect solution.
What do you mean?
Well, critics say these large single-piece components, they make repairs harder, more expensive.
Okay.
Like if one part of the underbody gets damaged, you might have to replace the whole thing instead of a small section. So it's that classic trade-off efficiency versus, repairability.
Makes you wonder, are they sacrificing long-term sustainability for these short-term gains?
It's the question a lot of people have. But whether you agree with how they're doing it, you can't deny they're pushing the limits of automation. And that brings us to, well, another robot you flagged. This one's a little more humanoid.
Ah, yes, Optimus, the robot that's supposed to be like more than just a machine, right? It's supposed to learn, adapt, almost like a human worker.
That's the idea, anyway. Musk has said Optimus will be able to do all sorts of tasks: factory work, household chores, you name it. He even pictures a future where people have their own personal Optimus assistants.
Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this is still very, very early days for Optimus. We've seen some demos, yeah, impressive, but who knows how long before this tech is ready for the real world, if ever.
And even if they can pull it off, what does a future with all these humanoid robots actually mean, for society?
Exactly. What happens to jobs these robots are supposed to be doing? How do we make sure this tech doesn't just make existing inequalities even worse? It's complex, no easy answers.
It's almost like Tesla's making us think about all this stuff, ready or not.
That's a great way to put it. They're not just changing industries, they're changing how we think about work, tech, the future. But even beyond, like, the big societal stuff, there are practical challenges, too.
Like what?
Well, Tesla's self-driving tech, which is supposed to be the brains of Optimus, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's still a work in progress. They're making progress, but they're not there yet.
Right. And we talked about the whole autopilot, full self-driving situation.
Exactly. And if they can't get self-driving to work perfectly for cars, how can we expect them to get it right for robots that have to navigate even more complex environments?
That's a good point. It's like they're trying to solve the hardest problems in AI and robotics at the same time. Ambitious, to say the least.
To put it mildly. And it goes back to that vertical integration thing again. They're not just building robots. They're building the AI, the software, the factories, everything.
The rainforest. They want the whole thing, roots to canopy.
Exactly. And it's both, exciting and a little scary to imagine where they'll go next. But let's not forget the other piece here. The robo-taxis. You sent some articles about Tesla's plans to launch this whole fleet of self-driving taxis.
Yeah, this is where the future really starts to, take shape. Imagine you open your phone, hail a Tesla, and it just shows up. No driver.
Compelling, right. But it depends on them solving all the stuff we just talked about. The self-driving tech needs to be flawless. They got to get everyone on board with regulations and convince the public that these robo-taxis are safe, reliable.
And they got to do all this while competing with, every other company that also wants to make robo-taxis.
Oh, yeah. This isn't just a one-horse race. We're talking Google's Waymo, GM's Cruise. The biggest names in tech want a piece of this.
It's going to be wild to see how it all plays out. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we should probably talk about the here and now, right? Tesla isn't just dreaming about the future. They're already making waves today. We've been talking about Tesla's big vision for the future robots, robotaxis, this whole sustainable energy empire, right? But they're not just some futuristic fantasy, are they? They're already making a huge impact today.
Absolutely. Just look at their market dominance. They've gone from, a niche electric car company to a major player in the global automotive industry. They're forcing giants like Toyota and Volkswagen to take notice.
It's true. They've really shaken things up. I remember when electric cars were seen as slow, clunky, and only for eco-warriors, right? But Tesla changed all that. Suddenly they were cool, desirable, even a status symbol.
It was a brilliant marketing move, really. They focused on performance and design, making electric cars that people actually wanted to drive. And they haven't let up. The Model S Plaid, for example, is one of the fastest accelerating production cars ever made, electric or otherwise.
Right. They haven't just built great cars. They've built this whole ecosystem around them, from their supercharger network to their over-the-air software updates. It's that whole vertical integration thing again.
Exactly. And it's given them a significant competitive advantage. But it's not just about technology. They've also tapped into a growing consumer desire for sustainability. People are becoming more aware of their environmental impact, and Tesla has positioned itself as the go-to brand for eco-conscious car buyers.
But it hasn't all been smooth sailing, has it? They've had production delays, quality control issues, and those autopilot controversies we talked about.
There have been bumps in the road, for sure, and Elon Musk's, let's call it unconventional management style, hasn't always helped.
Yeah, he's definitely a wild card. But you can't deny his ability to generate buzz and attract attention, whether it's through his tweets, his SpaceX ventures, or his unique sense of humor.
He's a master showman, there's no doubt about it. But the question is, can Tesla maintain its momentum? Can they transition from a disruptive startup to a mature, profitable company that can compete over the long haul?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? They're facing increasing competition, not just from traditional automakers, but also from new players in the electric vehicle space like Rivian and Lucid.
And let's not forget about the Chinese EV market, which is exploding right now. Companies like BYD and NIO are coming on strong, and they're not just copying Tesla, they're innovating in their own right.
So the landscape is getting a lot more crowded. What does Tesla need to do to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, for one thing, they need to ramp up production and improve their manufacturing processes to meet the growing demand for their products. They also need to continue to innovate, both in terms of technology and business models.
And maybe, just maybe, they need to rein in some of the more outlandish promises and focus on delivering on the ones they've already made.
That would certainly be a welcome change for some investors and analysts. But one thing is for sure, Tesla is a company that never ceases to amaze, frustrate, and intrigue in equal measure.
That's a perfect way to put it. They're a roller coaster ride that we can't seem to get enough of.
Ugh.
But for now, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Tesla.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. And to our listener, we hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have. Remember, this is just a starting point. There's a whole universe of information out there about Tesla, and we encourage you to keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring. Until next time, keep diving deep.